Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video on my channel. Tonight I'm planning to do a bit of deep sky astrophotography with the ASCAR ASQ-A55 telescope in combination with the CWO ASI 533 MC Pro. Before introducing the entire setup, the upgrades I made to this telescope, and before talking about the camera settings, the objects and all of that stuff, I'm planning to mention that this video is not sponsored, I'm not being paid for it, and all products shown in this video were purchased by myself. But now, let's get started. So tonight it will be quite cold, but that's definitely not a problem. For me personally, these cold temperatures are a bit better because I can cool down the camera even further. That's good for reducing noise in my final results. And generally speaking, these long winter nights are great for astrophotography for sure. Sometimes the cold temperatures are not that nice. But now let's introduce the entire setup that we are planning to use for tonight's astrophotography session. So as always, the basis of this entire setup will be the Skywatcher HQ5 Pro go-to mount. It has a go-to function which allows me to really achieve the perfect framing later on, so the perfect field of view. So later on I just select the object and then the mount will move the telescope to the object I'm planning to capture. So relatively easy if everything works according to plan. On the top I'm planning to use my telescope. So tonight I'm planning to go for my wide field telescope. So it's the ASCAR ASQ-A55 telescope, as I have already mentioned. At the back of this telescope, I've attached the CWO ASI 533 MC Pro, which is a cool dedicated astrophotography camera that is well suited for photographing deep sky objects. So it's especially designed for astrophotography, and it's a very good camera. I've used it multiple times so far. So I really enjoy using this camera for deep sky astrophotography. For controlling the entire setup, I'm planning to use the CWO ASI Air Pro. So this astro computer, I've been using this astro computer for the last 2 or 3 years, I guess. And so far, it has done an amazing job. I really enjoy using that one because it makes astrophotography definitely quite easy if everything works according to plan, that's for sure. As always, I'm using a guiding system. In this case, I'm using a guide scope, which works quite good in combination with this telescope. At the back of this guide scope, I've attached the CWO ASI 120mm mini mono guiding camera. So in this case, I do own the mono version of this camera, which is a bit better for guiding. Generally speaking, for planetary imaging, I have to use different filters in order to really capture these planets. But generally speaking, it's a camera I really enjoy using for guiding, and it works definitely quite good. So between the telescope and the main camera, I've attached a filter right here. So I'm using a 2-inch UV-ER cut filter, which works great in combination with this telescope. So this is basically the entire astrophotography setup I'm planning to use for tonight. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I made a few upgrades to this setup, and I'm planning to introduce these upgrades right now. Therefore, I'm trying to bring the telescope a bit closer to the camera in order to really share these upgrades with you. So the first upgrade is right here. So before there was a central piece right here, which means the guide scope was a bit further away from the actual main telescope, and I decided to remove the central piece and I've attached the guide scope to this adapter, which helps me to bring the entire guide scope a bit closer to the main telescope, which is better on the one side. So the optical aspect is an important one, definitely, and on the other side it's a bit better for balancing the entire setup later on. And generally speaking, I've used this upgrade for a few astrophotography sessions so far, and definitely works quite well. Another upgrade I made to this telescope is right here. So when buying the ASCAR ASQ-A55 telescope, you will only get one attachment. So basically this one right here. So if you're using a guide scope, most probably you will attach a guide scope at this adapter. For sure, when using an off-axis guider, you can attach an astro computer, for example, right here. But in this case, I'm using a guiding system, so a guide scope, and therefore I cannot attach a second component. But as you can see, I'm using an astro computer. Before, I've attached the astro computer right here with a screw. It worked quite well, but I wanted to upgrade the entire scope. Therefore, I attached a second attachment right here. Let me move the telescope like that. Here we go, now you can see it. So I've attached a second attachment right here, that allows me to really attach a second component, in this case the CWO ASI Air Pro. So it's not the original attachment, because the original one was a bit too expensive. So I guess it costs around $60, which is definitely quite a lot for just attaching a second component to your telescope. Therefore, I decided to do it myself, and it works quite well, and I'm really happy with the upgrade I made to this telescope, and generally speaking, I'm very happy with this telescope. Now let's talk about the object I'm planning to capture tonight. So tonight, as I have mentioned, I'm planning to go for a very famous winter target. The one I'm planning to capture tonight is the Horsehead and the Flame Nebula. I've captured these objects multiple times before. It's a great object to capture right now, especially for a wide field telescope. For sure, you can also use a bigger telescope and just focus on the central region. But in this case, I've decided to really capture a wide field image in order to really include all of these surrounding nebulae as well. So this is basically the plan for tonight. So if everything goes according to plan, I'll be able to capture images for the next few nights, so tonight and tomorrow, which should help me to collect a total exposure time of approximately 10 hours if everything goes according to plan. Hopefully, we'll be able to really use these 2 nights. So this is everything I've planned to mention so far about the object. Something that is important for me to mention as well is that I'm planning to use an exposure time of 3 minutes tonight, because the moon will be visible and I'm not using any filters. Therefore, I guess the exposure time is definitely well suited for tonight's object. This is everything I've planned to mention so far about tonight's object. I really hope that I can collect an exposure time that is long enough in order to be able to really capture a good image. That's everything I've planned to mention so far, so you can see the final image at the end of this video. In the course of 2 nights, I was able to capture the Horsehead and the Flame Nebula. When taking a closer look at the images I've captured that night, I realized that they were so sharp, and I was already expecting that this would become my best image of this object so far. After stacking and combining all of the images, I was able to create this image of the Flame and the Horsehead Nebula. Each single image has an exposure time of just 3 minutes, so as I have mentioned in the beginning of this video, the moon was visible, and therefore I decided to use a shorter exposure time because I have not used filters that night. In the course of these 2 nights, I was able to collect a total exposure time of 10 hours, which is definitely quite good. But still, I have to mention that I had some problems by processing and editing the image, because the star in the center was so bright and it was very challenging to really reveal details in both objects, because the star was so bright in the center. But still, I guess the image is definitely quite good. There are a lot of details visible, and I really like this image. If you have any further questions about the equipment I've used, or about the image, or general questions about astrophotography, definitely feel free to ask me down below in the comments, and I will definitely help you. If you would like to further support me, you can now become a member of my channel. Becoming a member of my channel would really support me, and your support really means a lot to me. If this video was interesting and helpful to you, I would really appreciate a like and a subscription. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, clear skies, Felix.